My name is Susan McKeever, and I'm going to talk to you today on the Lunch and Learn session on a talk entitled A Blast of Artificial Intelligence for Companies. Just to briefly, first of all, touch on who I am. I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Computer Science, and my research areas are in the application of machine learning, including deep learning, to real problems, i.e. to applied problems in the real world, often with companies. I'm also a principal investigator with the Centre for Applied Data Analytics, working with companies, and I carry out a lot of research-based applied AI projects. And that's an AI-generated picture of me on the right-hand side. Now, what I want to cover today is I want to clarify, first of all, AI terminology, so some of the terms that are used and the blurb, just so that we're all talking and understanding about the same things. And I'm specifically going to hone in on machine learning just briefly to cover the core concepts, purely to highlight the opportunities that are there for companies through illustrations. And then I want to ask some of the kind of key opportunity questions for companies that are planning to exploit or further exploit artificial intelligence. And within that, machine learning and data analytics, but not limited to those two. And then finally, I'll clarify what TU Dublin do in this space and what our capabilities are and what we can do for companies to help them move them along the AI path. Now, the areas and uses of artificial intelligence, you'll have seen many of these diagrams in the past, and it has all the keywords on it. You may be using, for example, virtual personal assistants or visualization or image analytics or Internet of Things and so on and so on. This isn't attempting to be an exhaustive list. It's certainly representative, and it's a fairly typical chart of what you'll see as the main areas. One particular term I'd like to clarify is data analytics, because it doesn't actually appear here, and that is for many companies their focus when it comes to AI. And really, data analytics is about using data to make decisions, better decisions, and discover insights. And in fact, it cuts through most of these. So if you highlight the areas that involve some form of data analytics, you could easily circle all the ones that I've shown here, because each of them generates some form of better decision making and understanding your data. So it's at the heart of it. So just moving on a little bit from that, it can be difficult for companies to get a hold on what all the different areas are because there are so many different aspects of artificial intelligence. And one way that I frame it when it comes to think of what it can do for your company is to simplify it a little bit into two main areas. So the first area is automation. Now, that might sound a little bit simplistic, but automation is a huge aspect of the capabilities that AI brings. So thinking about specific examples, things such as, customer service chatbots, robot-driven warehouses, automated loan approvals, automated filtering of CVs in large-scale HR departments, virtual reality training, factory quality control, visual inspections, automated supply chains, and so on and so on. In other words, being able to do more of something in a better way and faster. Now, the other aspect, and obviously it's a breakdown also of the acronym of AI, is insights, which I would suggest is the second big area. And insights being about supporting better decisions within the company. So gaining visualization of insights, and being able to predict certain things, for example, customer churn prediction, any aspect of decision support information, etc. So those are two key areas and two ways of thinking about the capabilities of AI in a company in a kind of summary way. Now, almost every company in reality is already using artificial intelligence, consciously or not. But pretty much every company can exploit AI to a greater extent to remain competitive as it gains more traction. Now, within the area of AI, I'm going to focus just quickly on one area, which is machine learning. And machine learning is a part of AI. It's not the only part, it's just one component, it's a technique. And to drill down as to what machine learning is, it is as simple as saying that they are simply algorithms, maths at the end of the day, algorithms that spot patterns in data. Algorithms that spot patterns in data in a way that's faster and more scalable and more complex than what we can do as humans. So, for example, it can work on any type of data. By data, I could mean Images, such as you can build models, ML models to detect cancer radiology images. Text, you could have automatic reading of millions of news articles to determine what the topics are. Tabular data, i.e. structured data, you could use an ML model to automatically predict which transactions in your data are fraudulent credit card transactions versus not. These are just examples of machine learning models. Okay, so let's go into two concepts in machine learning, just to give a capability of what they're going to do. So one important concept is clustering. And clustering is about being able to take, well, not quite raw data, but relatively untreated data, and putting it through the mechanism, the machine of finding the natural groupings in it. So you've got whatever this data might be here on the left. It could be images, it could be text, it could be tabular data, it could be financial transactions. And you put it through, and you allow the algorithm itself to discover what the natural groupings are. And it may find many different types of clusters, as you can imagine. So now this becomes really powerful, because you then, once you put it through that process, you can start to answer sample business questions. And these are all ones that we've taken from our own projects, such as, if it's customer service data, what are my natural customer segments? Am I discovering segmentation I didn't know existed before? Insurance claims. Why is there clustering around high occurrences of domestic accidents in particular regions, for example? Health. What are the natural groupings that we can discover for a disease? We put through all the patient details through here on the left-hand side. What are the main topics in these news reports? Insurance claims, customers claims, etc. Okay, so it's automated analysis. The second concept then, beyond clustering, which is slightly separate, is around supervised learning models. And supervised learning is an area of machine learning that imitates how humans learn. So in the same way that we learned how to learn by example as we turn from babies into adults, on the same principle, you train machine learning models to understand based on feeding in known examples from your own data. So if, for example, you want to train a model that's going to be able to identify fraudulent insurance claims, you show it hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of previous insurance claims that were either fraudulent or not, but were labelled. And then the algorithm's able to start to discern the difference and predict that then for future ones. The same principle, for example, of reading X-rays, you can train a machine learning algorithm to be able to automatically read X-rays based on previous examples. The same with having a model that can predict which of your customers are going to churn based on past examples. The principle is the same. By learning from prior data, from historical data, you can build very powerful classification, prediction, ranking, and so on. Now, what I wanted to move on to next then was to look at some of the key AI opportunity questions for companies. And you know, when it comes down to it, people do a lot of reading around AI and all this magic of what it's going to be able to do. But it comes down to the pragmatic things of, as a company, what can it do for you in reality, while you also continue with your business in the real world problems of keeping your customers happy, paying your staff. So let's look at it from two sort of groups of companies. The first type of company is, if you're already down the path of using AI, so that you already have either core to your product set, or maybe you're an advanced, technologically advanced company, and you know that you have specific AI projects that are core to your future business. Some obvious questions then are, like, are there off-the-shelf solutions that you can take for your particular problem? Or is this some sort of customized problem that you're looking at, one that's specific to you, that you're going to need to do a more specific customized AI project for? And if that's the case, what is the research challenge, if any, that's associated with that AI project? Is it the case that it's something that's relatively groundbreaking that you're going to have to do for your specific content and your specific case, with potentially with academic help? And then if that's the case, if you have a project or projects like that within the company, have you examined the funding mechanisms available if that's applicable to you? So there are many ways of funding these types of projects when you work with third levels to get the capability that we have within our own university to be able to bring it into a company. So that's one scenario where there's an understood AI problem. Now, if you're a company where you're at a much earlier stage, where you know that there are improvements to be made from AI, but you haven't yet engaged in the whole process of looking what the opportunities are in detail, some watch points that I would suggest are, firstly, ask yourself, what are the data stores in the business? Where is the data in your business that needs to be put through further analysis? Within these data stores, there's potentially hidden knowledge that you can glean that will be valuable to your business. Now, the type of data that I'm talking about could be any type. It could be the kind of more traditional tabular structured data. So this might be your sales data, your customer listing data, your underlying process data, whatever. The sort of stuff that you can do clustering on, segmentation, be able to predict future scenarios. The other type of data is not so obvious, and it's what we call unstructured data. And that's the not so easily searched data, such as your word processing documents, your spreadsheets, your audio files, potentially videos, image data that you might be storing for whatever reason. And deep learning has made huge inroads here as a technique for being able to automatically analyze this type of data and build predictive models. But having taken those data stores, which ones have the most hidden knowledge in them? Which ones are likely to reveal the gems that are used to your business? So, and that's the second point. Which ones yield gold from automated analysis? Is it, where are they? And what benefits can you analyze as being available from them? If you automatically analyze it, you cluster it, you classify it, you predict from it. If you had a magic wand that allowed you to spend the time trawling through this data, what is the likely embedded knowledge in there? And then once that's understood, there are off-the-shelf solutions, of course, for being able to, work through data, analyze it, develop models, etc. But it may be that there's a research-based answer where you need a customized solution in which it becomes relevant to go and talk to an outside party to be able to understand how you're going to get the value out of the data that you're storing. So that's the data-driven one. Now, the third point that I would make is processes in your business. And these are obviously closely related to data, but what processes in your business are slow or slower than they should be, expensive, potentially business critical, obviously more urgent ones, and error prone. So if you're, for example, an insurance business and you're processing claims, how well is that process working? What underlying data do you capture for the process? Can you visualize it? Do you know what the process looks like in terms of process discovery? Do you know what routes and paths have been taken through it, where the bottlenecks are? Can it be re-engineered or automated in parts or in some way? Where are the opportunities there? And for those, it may be that there are some out-of-the-box AI solutions to do this, such as simulation, chatbots, process mining, etc. But it may also be that a research-based solution is relevant here. So let's look at a couple of projects that we have on the go at the moment to give you a taster for the sort of things that can be done. And these range from all different businesses across different sectors and so on. But the one thing they have in common is that they all have an aspect of AI and often machine learning involved in them. So looking at the top left here, this project was about automating image analysis for prostate cancer biopsies. So being able to build a machine learning model that, based on previous examples, is able to interpret a sample and determine whether there's cancer present or not and where it is. And cancer analysis and general medical sample analysis is a huge area in machine learning. Moving over to the right-hand side, this is a project we have going at the moment, and we're working with the company where we're looking at how to automatically identify road problems. And that would be that's involving computer vision, and it's doing automatic determination of where the cracks are on the road, the potholes, the severity, and as before, using supervised machine learning models. A third area that we're looking at also is we've recently completed a project within CEDAR on process simulation, where we do process discovery on processes and allow companies then to simulate what happens when they change those processes. What you can also do, of course, then is if you have your process mapped out, your real process, and you're doing what if analysis, you can also start to predict things. How long will something take to go through the actual process when a new entity comes along, be it a patient in a hospital or an insurance claim into your system, and then to work to see where are the bottlenecks and where are the savings. Now, a few more examples. We're also doing or completed a project on data generation, which is generation of synthetic data, which is needed for, in this case, for privacy. We're doing another one over on the top right on heart health, whereby we capture smartphone recordings of heart signals, and we're building a machine learning model to be able to detect heart health. So that's about bringing heart health to the masses. Down on the bottom right, we've completed a project recently on explainable AI, whereby we've applied techniques to be able to explain what decisions a machine learning model is making. In this case, it was structured data, to explain what the decision was that was being made, so that it can support the end users and the owners of the model to explain decisions. It's a critical area of AI. Another one is automated visual navigation support that we're developing at the moment, whereby we're using computer vision to interpret the safer places for pedestrians who are visually impaired to cross the road, handle traffic lights, see obstructions, and also plan their route. And again, it's using computer vision and machine learning. So these are tasters of the types of projects that we're doing across a range of sectors. Now, just moving on to TU Dublin specifically, we have a strong AI presence here and a sizable AI capacity, which is including the Applied Intelligence Research Centre, which is a research centre based at TU Dublin City Campus, where we've got 30 plus PhD students who are working on AI projects, and obviously a whole supervisor set of staff who are supervising them. We also have the Centre for Applied Data Analytics, which is an Enterprise Ireland research centre, which we are part of, and we do work with companies through them. We have the ADAPT Centre with funded research investigators who are doing work on digital content and beyond in terms of AI. We have the Robotics Lab, Industry 4.0 Lab, and that is working with companies to develop around the area of robotics and automation. We have a virtual reality lab, which is based currently in our Ainger Street Centre, whereby we work with companies where virtual reality is needed on anything from training to various other aspects around processes. And we have, before I go on to the last point, also recently started work on our Convene Centre, which is going to be a single point of contact centre for companies to be able to find their way through the needs that they need working with digital coaches. And then finally, we have the AI postgrad qualifications that you can do for masters. That's based in City and in Tala, and Blanche across our 3 different campuses. And between all of this is a sort of representation of our AI capability. There are other, obviously, areas within the university. These are the main headlines. Now, doing projects with this, what it actually means for companies then, there are various funding supports. If you're looking to get support for funding, including funded projects through Enterprise Ireland, Enterprise Ireland Innovation Partnerships, for example, and vouchers. Vouchers can give you a little small amount to get started, and then the innovation partnerships are for larger projects where you do a cash contribution supported by funding. There's also the Disruptive Technology Innovation Fund, which is multi-million euro projects. There's the European Funding Consortium projects. These are for much larger scale projects, which we get involved in, as in Horizon 2020. There are PhD scholarship opportunities if you have a research problem. That's something that you can eke out over a few years, and it would help to have a PhD student to work on it. And they are funded, for example, by Government of Ireland, and there's various other schemes too. We do placement of research students, both PhD and MSc level, who may be of benefit to your company. And we have various other forms of partnerships. And the main thing is, come and talk to us if it's something that is of interest to you. So the idea of this then was the Learn and Lunch. So hopefully you've learned something from the various points that I went through and picked up something that might be useful to you. And now it's hopefully time for your lunch if you haven't had yours yet, whether you like eggs or not, or whatever you're eating. And thank you very much for listening. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.